Hey there, it's Dr. Linda Burke. You all know that I'm a board-certified OBGYN physician, but I am not going to talk about OB tonight because I just read the story about Sonya Massey. Like Miss Massey, my mother had schizophrenia. Most people don't know that. It's something that I very rarely talk about because some of my mother's history was very painful. But I'm grateful that once I became a physician, her life got much better. But in 1980, my first month of being in Boston, attending medical school, I constantly lived in the library. Either I was in the library or I was in class. I was always studying. And one day I come home and find the Boston Police Department in front of my building. They were looking for me because my aunt was trying to contact me, and this is before the days of cell phone, if you can believe that. And my aunt was trying to contact me because my mother had one of the worst breakdowns in her life. I had gotten her settled into a beautiful senior citizens apartment, and off I went to Boston, and I thought everything was fine, and then my mother has this breakdown. So I go home, I sort out things for my mom, and unlike Miss Sonya Massey, who died kneeling on her kitchen floor saying, "I'm sorry," seconds before she gets shot 3 times in the head, my mother dies, and I was with my mother the night that she passed away. My mother dies of pneumonia in a hospital. I'm sharing it because I know what the family of people who have mental illness go through. And I am so sorry for Miss Massey's 2 teenage children. They're gonna suffer. I hope they don't. But the emotional trauma that they will possibly could have been prevented if we had the proper systems in place. You all know, or maybe you don't know, that before I became a physician, before I went to med school, I was a social worker. I graduated from Columbia School of Social Work, and that was like a transformative time in my life. And although I am an OBGYN physician, I am also, in my heart, still a social worker. And I firmly believe that if we develop a national policy where law enforcement trainees have some exposure to mental health training, we can stop preventable deaths of people who have mental health disorders. So how do you do that? You have a registry. And before all y'all get bent out of shape because I'm talking about identifying people who have mental health disorders, I'm not talking about people who have therapy. I'm talking about people who, because of their mental disorders, like people who have schizophrenia, are not able to work. They are mentally disabled and receive Social Security funds under Title 16, SSI payments, as a way of reducing people with mental health disorders being slaughtered, killed unnecessary, because there's a disconnect of communication, or because law enforcement is not equipped to de-escalate the situation. Just like we have people who have driver's license, we know who has who wears glasses, long story short, who has corrected vision, or people who have seizure disorders. We need to identify people who have mental impairments so that when these calls come in to law enforcement, they know before they leave to go to someone's home or to go to some situation that they are dealing with someone who has a mental disorder. Some of these policies are in place. Some places have crisis intervention teams, but not everybody has that. And what I'm proposing is that this policy of identifying people who have mental disorders is done on a national level. And so that means that I am respectfully asking each one of you who's watching this video to start lobbying for these changes in policy to occur. Everyone uses a computer now. This information can be placed in a national database, a national law enforcement database, so that these tragedies will be minimized. It is unconscionable. People who have mental disorders leave this earth before their time because our law enforcement system is either not equipped or not trained to handle these situations. You can even have a system where if you get a call and you know that this person has a mental health disorder, you can have someone who's trained in mental health to accompany the officer as they deal with this crisis or situation. As a country, we can do better than this, and we must do better than this. Because when I hear about Sonya Massey, that could have easily been my mother, Louise Burke. So I thank y'all for listening. I would greatly appreciate you sharing this information with other people, because we know that when people get together for good things happen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Don't play with the dog.